Right now, everything keeping you alive surrounds you. Heat, light, food within reach, walls that block the wind. Now imagine all of it gone in a single breath. Because if you woke up in the Ice Age tomorrow, here's the terrifying truth. You wouldn't last a week. And it wouldn't be a predator that killed you. It wouldn't even be starvation. It would be something silent, patient, waiting in the air itself. By the end of this documentary, you'll understand exactly how the cold hunted humans, and why the people who survived it were nothing like you. Let's start with hour 1. The temperature is minus 30 degrees. You have no clothing built for this. Within 20 minutes, your fingers stop obeying you. Not because they're cold, because your body has already made a decision you didn't agree to. It's abandoning your hands to protect your heart. This is the first thing the Ice Age teaches you. Your own body will sacrifice pieces of itself to keep you alive one more hour. Ancient humans understood this. That's why they didn't fight the cold. They negotiated with it. Every layer of fur, every smear of animal grease on bare skin, every fire was a bargain with a world that wanted them dead. You'd still be standing there, shocked, wasting the only currency that mattered: time. Say you survived the first night. Congratulations. You've earned a new enemy: hunger. But Ice Age hunger was not the hunger you know. In a frozen world, your body burns thousands of calories just to stay warm, before you've moved a single muscle. You could eat all day and still starve by nightfall. So ancient humans became obsessed with something most of us would never touch: pure animal fat, marrow hidden deep inside bones. Archaeologists have found caves filled with bones cracked open in a specific way, smashed within minutes of the kill. Because the survivors didn't want the meat, they wanted what was inside. And this wasn't desperation, this was strategy. They had figured out something it took modern science thousands of years to confirm. In the cold, fat is life, and everything else is a distraction. You would have starved surrounded by food, simply because you didn't know the rules. But the cold wasn't even the worst part. It was the dark. Imagine 6 months without a real sunrise. Half a year locked in a blue-gray twilight that never becomes day. Now imagine spending it beside a single fire, not knowing if your family will still be breathing by spring. This is where the Ice Age stopped being a physical test and became a psychological one. And this is where most people would break. Not their bodies, their minds. So ancient humans invented a weapon against it. One you still use every single day without realizing it. Stories. Around those fires, in that endless dark, humans began telling stories. Not for fun, for survival. Stories that warned children away from thin ice. Stories that mapped where the herds would migrate. Stories that carried life-saving knowledge across generations who would never meet. You think of storytelling as entertainment. To them, a story was the difference between a tribe that survived and one that forgot and died. And even if you survived the cold, the hunger, and the dark, one truth remained: you were not at the top of the food chain. The Ice Age was ruled by monsters. Cave lions, bigger than any lion alive today. Hyenas that could crush bone in a single bite. Wolves that hunted in coordinated packs across frozen plains. To these creatures, you were not a threat. You were a meal that hadn't stopped moving yet. This is why fire became more precious than food itself. Fire didn't just keep you warm, it kept the dark things back. A dying fire wasn't an inconvenience, it was a death sentence. Some groups carried burning embers everywhere they traveled, protecting a single flame across miles of frozen wilderness. Because if that ember died, so did everything it protected. Entire bloodlines depended on keeping one small flame alive against an entire frozen world. And you'd be responsible for it, with no lighter, no matches, no second chance. So who actually made it? Not the strongest, not the fastest. The ice didn't care about muscle. The survivors were the ones who could adapt to horror faster than horror could catch them. Who could look at a dead animal and see shelter. Who could look at darkness and build a story. Who could carry fire like it was their own heartbeat. And here's the strangest part of this entire story. They're still with you. Every time you feel calmer staring into a fire. Every time darkness makes you uneasy. Every time being alone raises a quiet anxiety you can't explain. That's not random. That's an echo. An instinct written into you by ancestors who survived a world that tried to erase them. Your body still remembers the Ice Age, even if your mind has forgotten. So no, you wouldn't survive a week. Not because you're weak, but because you were never trained by the cold the way they were. The people who lived through the last ice age weren't primitive. They were specialists in a kind of survival we can barely imagine. They stared into the same darkness you fear and refused to look away. And the reason you're here right now, breathing warm air in a lit room, is because somewhere in that frozen world, someone refused to let the fire die.